Introducing National Streaming Sports, live and on-demand sports talk programming that you can access 24/7. For the premier sports talk experience, tap into our Roku channel. Start your mornings with Mac and Jack covering all the weekend sports action. Then pour a cup and enjoy all the sports you can drink on the Coffee and Sports podcast. At midday, talk sports from east to west on the Coast to Coast podcast. Followed at night by some hot girl talk with Prim and Proper Sports featuring Sonia Pearson. Talk boxing on the Gloved Fist. Yankee fans tune in for Start Spreading the News. And there's more on the College Sports Huddle and Sports Scope with Robert Butler. There are 20 podcasts in all and 70 weekly shows, giving us a 3.4-star viewer rating. To find us on Roku TV, search for National Streaming Sports on the Roku search bar. Click on the logo and you're in. National Streaming Sports, live and on-demand sports talk for America.
I'm Mac, CEO of National Streaming Sports Network and the host of the Mac and Jack Sports Show. And you're watching Our Lady of Sports, Sonia Pearson, host of Prim and Proper Sports. Thanks for watching.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of Prim and Proper Sports on Wednesday. I'm your host, Sonia. You know me. I hope everybody has had an amazing week. I want to dedicate tonight's show to the memory of my grandmother. Today would have been her birthday, so happy birthday, Bertie L. English. And it's so weird. She actually was from Evanston, Illinois, right outside of Chicago. And so tonight I have a guest that I'm going to reintroduce to some of you all and introduce to others. He is the show host, podcast creator of, let me make sure I get it right. It's always like one ass cheek, three toes. He's Nate the Great Castro, and he is an avid Detroit Lions fan. We always have an amazing time on the show together. And so I'm definitely excited to welcome him right back to the stage. Nate, good evening. How are you?
Good. How you doing? Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. It's always a pleasure to have you. How have you been? How's things since the last time we had you on?
Been good. I mean, I think the last time we were talking about the Lions winning the Super Bowl, and yeah, that didn't happen. So
has it been that long?
New season, it has been that long.
Oh my gosh, this time is flying. And we are almost in April, so almost through the first quarter of the year. I think you and I talked back in January because it was right before. Yeah, it was. You guys have solidified your playoffs. And
yeah, we were about to get into the first game of the playoffs. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, everybody, make sure you download the Roku app and look for Northeast Professional Sports. It's sports there without the cost of cable. And shout out to Linda and Mac, the great host over there on that platform. Just so very gracious. And shout out to Pink Fan Fur, who is my promo and ads and all the stuff you see behind the scenes and my backdrop behind Football Talk with Bo Crouch. So just surrounded by a lot of great team members over on Northeast Streaming Sports. All right, Nate. So we only have about 57 minutes now after the credits roll, and this time goes by super fast. Let's go ahead and start off talking about those Lions. Unfortunately, they were eliminated shockingly by the Washington Commanders. I literally did not see that coming.
Yeah, it breaks my heart. Thank you for bringing it up.
Sorry.
It's all good.
We haven't talked about it.
It's all good. It's therapy. It's therapy. Yeah, no, I mean, it is what it is. You know, shout out to Jaden Daniels. You know, he came in with a lot of confidence. Team played better. Lions were not on their A game. That's what happens. You know, just it wasn't our time. You know, and unfortunately, it might have been our best chance to win a Super Bowl. You know, I really, I
see that.
But it's the truth because everything was in play for us. The number one seed, or 15-2 record. You know, you swept your division. Like everything except for the injuries was all in play. And now you look at going forward, tougher schedule. The division we have is going to be hell. we're not going to win 15 games. We're not going to get the number 1 seed more likely. It's going to be a tougher road. I'm not saying we can't do it, but just the reality is that might have been our best chance because we had everything right in front of us and had home field advantage. Like everything would have went to Detroit. You got to seize those moments. And if you don't seize those moments, then it might not happen again. So we'll see.
I know. I think that the biggest thing for me is, even though you all do still have your nucleus of your players, your core nucleus, Ben Johnson leaving to take the head coaching position, just really, really a big void. And then on top of that, on the flip side of the coin, both, I guess both of them, the offensive and the defensive coordinators are now head coaches in the league for other teams. But I will say this, I think that Detroit kind of was forward thinking. You and I talked about this on your show a few days ago, and my comment was literally the same as it is tonight. I feel like you all were forward thinking that this could happen. I mean, we see it time and time again when there's a team that is really good. Those are the best opportunities for your coordinators to get head coaching positions. And if not, then they miss that window. So that is an opportunity that those gentlemen, or if it's ever a lady, it has not been yet, but whenever it is, will have to seize that opportunity for themselves. And so this is one of those things that we saw right up, but I don't think I've ever remembered both offensive coordinators and defensive coordinators. Maybe that happened with the Patriots one year.
It did happen. It did happen with the Patriots. It happened with the Eagles actually a couple of years ago when they lost their DC and their OC in the same after their Super Bowl season, when the one that they lost to the Mahomes. Yeah, it's tough. I mean, those are the catalysts to what you do on offense and defense, and both are deserving of head coaching positions. Hopefully, both do well. I hate that one of them is in our division, but it is what it is.
Yeah, that's the big thing.
That's all right. I mean, he's not taking anything with him, so he's got to build it himself. So good luck. But yeah, no, I mean, it just speaks to Dan Campbell as a coach. He's created this tree, and this is not going to be the last person that he's going to make a head coach. Like, there's another couple of guys that are in waiting to be head coaches on our team. And so it's just giving those opportunities to those people, and we'll see what happens. It takes a while for coordinators to get their footing and, for players to pick up what's going on. The Lions have been blessed the last 4 years. They had the same coordinator for the last 4 years and 3 years. And so the scheme never changed. The verbiage never changed. I don't expect a lot of change, but it's going to be an adjustment period. And that's kind of one of the reasons why I said last year might have been our year, because you lose your coordinators, you have some changes, the division's going to be harder, the schedule's going to be tougher. It's going to be tough, but Dan Campbell is the main staple of this team. He's not going anywhere. And so we can still be successful, no doubt.
I mean, you guys haven't done too much with the trade deadline or what have you. Been kind of silent, honestly. I think I've seen a little rumbling here or there, but basically contract extensions and just preparing for the draft. But even with the draft, unless you guys trade up, you all are way down. That's the caveat of going so far into the playoffs. You are literally on the end of the totem pole when it comes to being able to pick drafts. Do you see Detroit trading up to pick up anybody?
It's a possibility. I mean, we were talking about it in our production meeting. I don't think we've peaked yet. I disagree with that, but but everybody has their opinions. We talked about this in our production meeting with Strilla and Jay, and we think there's some scenarios that the Lions could really go. I mean, obviously Trey Hendricks is still out there. A report just came out right now that says that he's willing to sit out games if he doesn't get a new contract.
Yep, I saw that.
So that's going to put pressure on Cincinnati to, basically crap or get off the pot. And so I think the Lions are still in play for that. If they don't go that route, then I definitely think that we probably will trade up in the draft to get our premier ends. And I think that it could be Abdul Carter. I think that if you're gonna go trade up in the top 10 possibly to get your end, it better be for Abdul Carter, because I think Abdul Carter makes a lot of sense, and I think he's like Micah Parsons 2.0. And
Mhm.
I would love to pair him with Aiden. And so that would be a dream situation, but it's going to cost a lot of draft capital to definitely get him. And so, but I think the Lions have to do something, because right now you let go of your most productive pass rusher right now because you don't want to pay him the money, and you still could bring him back, but he's not on the team right now. So you have Aiden coming off a broken fibula. Hopefully he's going to be fine. And then, Trey is a pipe dream if we can get him. I mean, I don't know what Cincy's going to do, but I think the Lions would entertain the idea. So yeah, it's kind of tough, because I trust our GM 100% on what he does. He's done nothing to me to make think otherwise. But you look at some of the moves that have been made with the other teams, the Eagles, the Commanders, the Vikings,
It's
the
been pretty
Bears.
loud, right?
They have been pretty loud. But that being said, the Lions are very complete. Like, they probably have two positions that they really need to fill going forward in this season. So they don't have a lot of holes, but they do need to address those holes. And so I'm assuming that it will be in the draft, but you never know with Brad Holmes. He's a very smart man, very calculated man, and he sees forward. He's a very forward thinker. So I wouldn't put past that he has a plan, and I do believe he's got something up his sleeve. It's just Lion fans need to just chill out. Like,
Yeah.
trust
I
the
was
man. He knows what he's doing.
Yes, and hello to you, Dennis. And yes, we will talk. Dennis and the Trailer Park Band, thank you for joining us tonight. I appreciate that. Hello. Yeah, the big thing is that you guys brought back Al Qadim Muhammad. So that's gonna be big.
Mhm.
That's you guys he's a veteran to the team, he's very familiar, and I think not that really Detroit is really not that young or novice anymore. You guys have had the same team for the last couple of years. So everybody's pretty familiar.
Mhm.
I guess I'm trying to think, like, would there be a specific hole anywhere? You guys have been so quiet. It's almost sneakily quiet. Like we have no idea what Detroit may do.
Right. Well, I think the two holes that are glaring for Detroit, one is definitely end. We have to get another end. I like the Mohammed signing. He's a very low-key signing. I think the pass rush win rate was Micah Parsons, of course, was number one. Aiden was right behind him. And Mohammed was like fourth or fifth. So, I mean, that's impressive to be in that kind of talk when you look at some of the best pass rushers. So I think he's in for a bigger role. Brad only gave him a 1-year deal, so if he balls out, then he gets paid. And guard, we lost Zeigler to the Titans, and I think Zeigler would have stayed with the Lions, but Zeigler has family in Nashville, and he's 35 years old, so I figure he's probably this is gonna be his last stop, and why not have a stop with his family? So it made sense. But yeah, we need a guard. We need a starting guard. I would say guard and defensive end for sure are the two biggest needs for the Lions. If we can address both of those, we'll be fine. We got all the other spots.
Yeah, and that's going to be very, very important because, like you said, you guys are in this uncertain period. So knowing that and knowing the propensity that you guys can repeat, but will you repeat? It's like the odds are against you for a third time. You have to look at that. I want to give a shout out to Chef James DC Taylor. James, oh my gosh, how are you doing? He said Commanders, of course. I have not talked to James since we worked at TGI Fridays together back in 2008. So it's
Wow.
been a really long time. I forgot he was even on my Facebook. James, I hope you and your family are doing well. Thank you so much for supporting. Please make sure you subscribe to my YouTube. It's Prim and Proper Sports, just like you see here on the caption. And Dennis, yes, enjoy your grandbaby and good night. Thank you everybody for all the comments and stuff. Robert says he has a question for you. Why are the Lions the team pushing playoff reseeding enough that the NFL is considering? Okay, I don't even understand that. So let me let you explain that, Nate.
Yeah, so the Lions put a proposal. Basically, they're saying that, okay, so let's give an example. Let's look at the Vikings. The Vikings were had the second best record in the NFC behind the Lions. They were literally jockeying for the number 1 seed. So the Vikings had to go on the road and play the Rams. Now, of course, that game was played in Arizona, but if the Fires hadn't happened, they would have played in LA.
Right.
And LA had a lesser record than the Vikings did. So because the way the current format goes is that the Rams would be hosting the playoff game over the better team, the better record Vikings. So what the Lions are proposing is we get rid of that. So like if you how the NBA works, like how the top seed and the lowest seed play each other. That's what they're proposing. They're proposing that you just keep it. Whoever's got the better records will host a playoff game. So like, let's say your Panthers win the division, but let's say they have 10 wins. Let's say they're 10-7. Okay. They win the division. And let's say the Vikings were 12-3. Well, the old format would give the Panthers the home game in the playoffs, and the Vikings have to go on the road.
Oh, so because we won the division.
Right. So, pretty much. And so what they're advocating is whoever has the best record will host the playoff games, which I think should be right.
Yeah.
If you have the better record, you deserve to play in front of your fans.
Yeah, really. You do.
I mean, because look at it from this standpoint. If the Panthers are 10-7, and let's say a team is 8-8, you got to go on the road and play the 8-8 team. That's not fair.
Yeah,
your Panthers should be able to host that playoff game. So it makes perfect sense. Like, it's nothing against the Lions advocating anything to advantage to them. It's just like, hey, it's not fair. Like
they're actually saying they were already doing that.
No, it's the way it works is the division winners will host the playoff games, even if the record's bad. Like if it's like 8-8 or 9-8, I agree with you, Paul. Yes. That's a possibility.
And hello, Paul. Manu could be the great. And of course, true to form, here comes B. Strilla. He's on here as well. So greetings to us. I missed it. I don't know where he went. It was up here and
I thought he was sleeping.
Yeah, I thought he was. He says, "What's up" to both of us. There he is. He says, "What's up, Sonya and Nate? What up, B. Strilla? We're talking Lions talk here. Everybody coming on. Thank you so much for all the likes, loves, and views. I see the viewership going up on all our platforms here. So thank you so much on YouTube, Roku, and here on Facebook. I'm sitting here.
But if that makes sense, what I was saying, Sonia?
Absolutely. And that's the thing, though, Nate. I was thinking that, like, I literally thought we already were doing that. But I guess in those close calls, like, say, for instance, I guess a good example of it not happening would be, say, like you guys had the better record and another team, just because they won their division, you still had to go see them. Is that what you're saying?
Oh, yeah, like the way it should have been is like the Vikings should have hosted the Rams.
Yeah.
Because the Vikings had the second best record in the NFC behind the Lions, or tied for the Lions record, whatever. So they should have hosted the playoffs. And I was telling B and I was telling Jay on our production meeting that if the Rams would have had to go to Minnesota, do we think the Rams would have won in Minnesota? Probably not.
Yeah, probably not. Home
and then it would have been
strong advantage.
Yeah, and then it would have been the Vikings versus the Eagles, and that would have been interesting to watch. I don't know who wins that one, because the Vikings had a lot of weapons and the Eagles had a lot of weapons. That would have been a fun matchup. So that's what I'm saying. Like, that's what the Lions are proposing. Like, we need to make it where the best teams and the worst teams are on the bottom and the best teams are on top. And just like basketball, the number 1 seed plays the 8 seed, and then you go inside, so on, 3-6, 4-5, all that stuff. Like, that's the way it should be.
Yeah, so I guess he's saying, but does that not take away from the honor of winning?
Yes and no. I mean, if you have a team that wins a division, I'm sorry to diss your division, but your division usually has less than 7 or 8 wins sometimes. He's a Seahawk fan. Okay. But what I'm saying is, like,
you're talking about my division.
I'm talking about the South. Like, do you see this?
Oh my God, no.
You know what I'm talking about. The South usually has a lot less wins, but whoever wins the division is still hosting the playoff.
Yeah.
You know,
Trust me.
all I'm saying
We've
is
hosted
that
it with 7, 8, and 1 before. So
exactly.
trust me, I know.
That's my point. And as a fan, it's not fair for that team to host a playoff game when you have teams that are winning 12 to 13 games.
I get you.
You
In a
know.
different division, but they've got a better record.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
You're basically rewarding for mediocrity is what you're doing.
Yeah, but you're not. But at the same time, like what Robert said, you're not allowing the divisional champ to, hold the home game.
Yeah, I mean that's an argument, but the thing is that if it's a 7 or 8 win team, more than likely they're not going to go that far anyways. There's anomalies.
Yeah, and
Yeah, the
Strilla said
NBA does it.
NBA
Like
does
B's
it.
right. Yeah, yeah.
And
Why can't the NFL?
Who is this? Robert is saying the Hawks play the NFC South this year. Robert, you sound ridiculous. You don't even believe that yourself. And I appreciate you with the show. Paul is saying, okay, so we're going to talk about this in a second. The league,
push.
Yeah, but I'm going to pull that up in a second because I was just looking today. The NFL is going to be voting on. Well, they met to vote on 2 key rule changes other than the Packers' proposal ban on the tush push ban. They're also wanting to do an official rule change about prohibiting an offensive player from pushing their teammate who was already lined up directly behind the snapper and to impose a penalty. And let's see, the second one was a rule change.
Legal contact.
About you guys, the Lions, who wish to see Rule 8, Section 4 changed to eliminate an automatic first down as a penalty imposed for defensive holding and illegal contact. Again, your explanation on that from the Lions' perspective.
So I'll just give an example in the NFL. Let's say you're a defense, right? And let's say you've put the team in a 3rd and 30 situation. Okay. Like you're feeling good. You're going to get off the field. They got to go 30 yards. More likely not going to get it. Yeah, they are wusses. So if they get a legal contact call, it automatically goes to a first down. So those 30 yards are negated. Like you automatically get a first down no matter what. And I think that's BS because if the defense put the situation to where they're that far back, make it a 5 to 10 yard penalty, but don't give all 30 yards back. My God. I mean, the defense earned that.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it is. And so the Lions are just proposing that, hey, that's BS, man. We don't need to be doing that. Like, give it a 5 to 10 yard. I agree with it. I'm totally for it because first off, it's like if I push you right here, that's illegal contact. Is that worth a 30-yard penalty? Hell no.
It makes, and most of the time we've seen teams go on and score that they were literally about to kick off. And because of this penalty, now they've got a fresh set of downs.
Exactly.
And I'm like, what in
the as a defense, you're just like, oh my God, we just lost our advantage. Like now it's a first down. Even though I just did this to you. That's illegal contact.
It comes out of nowhere. It's like you just be like, the refs are sitting there waiting for it too. They are waiting for those specific calls because those are the ones that they're like, oh, that's a big penalty.
Exactly, B. Exactly. And as a Lions fan, there were times where we were in those long down and distances, and I love Terry and Arnold, but he holds a lot. And I'm like, please, Terry, and do not hold because any kind of holding call is an automatic first down. And I just think that's stupid because the defense has worked so much to get that in position to get the ball back to the offense. And one little like that is going to cost you a 30-yard penalty. It's ridiculous.
A wrap. Like you literally, and like B said, that's your game for most of the time, especially in these close games. And you're 3rd and long and all this stuff. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on the tush push? I know that you guys don't like the Packers because they're the ones that's coming for this rule, but I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm sick of it too, and I'm not even.
I've heard of some opinions on this, and I've kind of changed myself on my thoughts on this. So I'll tell you what I think they should do. I think it's a big advantage to the offense if the players are pushing the quarterback into the defense. Does that make sense? So if you're going to keep the tush push, you cannot push the quarterback in front. You cannot push the quarterback forward. That should be illegal because if you're on defense, Jalen Hurts can squat 600 pounds. He's a big dude.
Super
Your
strong.
your center is in front of Jalen Hurts. That's another 300 pounds. Then you have your running back, Saquon, who's 200 pounds. Then you have your receivers who are another 200 pounds.
That's so dangerous.
That's like 1,000 pounds
Yeah.
going against a defense. Like,
And
how the
landing
hell-
on you when they get ready to
Yeah,
try to
yeah.
tackle you.
Like, how the
That is
hell are you gonna?
suffocating.
Yeah, how are you gonna stop that? How are you gonna stop that? I don't care if you have the Rock of Gibraltar in front of you. You're not gonna be able to stop that. That's a lot of. I mean, it's a simple physics, man. Kinetic. You got force going against a movable object. Like, all I'm saying is, like, if you're gonna keep the tush push, you cannot push the quarterback, advance the quarterback in front. It's stupid.
So I guess it would be like, how would you use it if you can't push them forward?
It's just like a quarterback sneak. It would just be a regular quarterback sneak. Like, it's no different than you just
I see what you're saying.
Goff or Bryce Young going and just
you
quarterback
block
sneaking it.
and allow them to run.
Yeah, it's the way it should be. Your line versus their D line, and whoever wins gets to advance, or they go the other way. You should not have somebody pushing you on top of you pushing yourself. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, Chris Jones.
It's automatic almost. Yeah.
Chris Jones got hurt like that because he lined up sideways in the Super Bowl and got ran the over. So
it's a lot of weight going at you.
I mean, I can't even, I always say, like, I don't know if when you were little kids, you used to wrestle with your friends, or I mean, I was a tomboy, so I used to wrestle with my brothers, my cousins, everybody. And when they would pin me down, that was the worst feeling because I felt like I couldn't breathe. Like, I had to get you off of me. If somebody landed on me, I felt like I can't even get them off.
This is what the defense does in the tush push. Or I don't know if I'm doing it right. So if this is the off. It's kind of hard to do it with the mirrors. But if this is the offense, the defense is going under. That's why it could be hurting, because they're trying to advance forward, and the defense is trying to put their knees and head into the ground to stop it,
like a wall.
By that, yeah, and that's where injuries can happen. But also, too, look at the kinetics. You're still going to push forward if you have all that force going.
And that's what I'm saying. I gave the illustration of being wrestled down by one or two people. Imagine 10 bodies of, like you said, 1,000 pounds on you, and you got to wait for everybody to get up. Everybody's not going to pop right up. So if you are this person that is buried underneath all of that weight, it is the absolute worst. And you can still get injured. You can still get your spleen hurt. Your spleen could be very hurt by stuff like that because it comes from traumatic force. I mean, I know they were bad, but yeah.
I'm surprised there's not more back injuries to this play, because if the defense is going low and the offense is going high and they're trying to advance the ball, they're putting all the pressure on their back if their back is arched. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. And Strill is saying he agrees with that, what you're saying. Defense needs to be allowed those discrepancies. And Robert says he agrees, no push. If the defense can't use other players to get over the line. And we totally get that. All right. So this time goes by fast. We're already at the 9:30 hour. Let's talk about some we want to try to get some NBA news, and even in a little bit of March Madness, just a tiny bit. We got some time before the draft comes up. What was your biggest surprise in the trades that we've seen in the last few days?
As far as
you got Najee Harris leaving, you got Geno Smith being signed, leaving Seattle.
You mean some of the free agent signings?
Yes,
yeah.
It
seems like teams are moving off quarterbacks. We talked about Geno Smith. But I kind of figured Geno was going to go with Pete because Pete's coached him.
Really? Okay.
And Sam Darnold going to Seattle. That was interesting. I thought the Vikings were going to keep Sam Darnold and let JJ play behind him. Aaron Rodgers is still out there. Russell Wilson's still out there. Honestly, like, you don't want to be a team without a quarterback right now.
Right. This is not a quarterback saturated draft at all.
Yeah. And the market's not good either. I mean, if your best quarterbacks are 41-year-old Aaron Rodgers on a bad Achilles or recovering from Achilles, and you got Russell Wilson, who is past his prime, those are your best options. Man,
you're in trouble. Yeah, the Vikings came out today and said that they were not even going to entertain Rodgers. They were talking some numbers, but they were like, we're committed to McCarthy. So He's
And
out.
that just says right there, that's how they feel about Rodgers, that they're going to go with a rookie who's never played in the NFL
And an
turn the
injured
keys to
one.
that.
And he's been
Yeah.
injured.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
they
I
don't
don't
even
know.
want to
I
give
feel like
Rodgers the time of
Rodgers
day.
Huh?
I said they don't want to give Rodgers the time of day. That says it all right there.
Yeah, I feel like Rodgers may have to chillax and come out for a little bit and wait
I
to
think he
come
needs
in
to
as a
retire.
Flacco situation. Or people have, commented he may end up in Pittsburgh. And I'm gonna tell you like this, Nate. If he goes to Pittsburgh, that drama he had with the Jets and the little tricklings that went on in Green Bay that we're now hearing about, Tomlin is not putting up with that.
No.
Rodgers will get straightened all the way out going up there. So some people are rooting for him to go to Pittsburgh just for that very reason.
Yeah, I agree with B. I think he needs to retire and go to his Awashika and go into his dark place and never come out.
Yeah, and I felt like DK has been asking to be traded for a while. This isn't his first season, basically saying he wants out.
Yeah.
Geno was shocking and on the fly. And what do you think about Devontae Adams? The Rams don't want to pay Cooper Kupp because he's 32 years old. They don't want to give him $30 million, but then they welcome Devontae Adams for the same amount of money.
Well, I mean, Devontae Adams, in my opinion, is probably better than Cooper Kupp right now. Cooper Kupp's had some serious injuries. He lacks separation at times.
That
he was going to get really expensive, and they got Devontae on a 1-year deal. So I think they take that risk. He's a better receiver. He'll play well with Puka. And one thing I've noticed about a lot of these teams is a lot of these teams are moving off some of their better players.
Yeah, that was a shock for me.
It's because they can't afford them. We look at some of the teams that have spent a lot of money. They're spending a lot of money because they have a lot of holes, and a lot of them have. Look at the Niners. The Niners have taken almost their whole roster out. That too.
Look at the Bengals. The Bengals with Higgins, Burrow, and Chase, $115 million just with those three, which leaves them only $79 million for their defense. They're going to have the worst defense in the league.
Exactly. And then, like I said, with the Niners got rid of a lot of good players because they overpaid other players. They still haven't played Purdy either.
And they're talking about trading Ayuk. Ayuk may be traded.
Yeah, because they're moving off these players because they gave them bad contracts. Debo, Ayuk.
Yep.
They overpaid these players, and now they can't afford these players, so they have to move off of these guys, and they hope that they can find them in the draft that are cheap.
The crazy thing is the salary cap went up another $53 million. The NFL approved that to try to assist some of these teams that were in salary cap deficits. And it still didn't help. And it's become a battleground for if me and you, Nate, play wide receiver and you get a contract for $50 million, I'm like, well, I want 51 because Nate got 50. And I think I'm just as good as Nate or better. And if you don't give me at least $1 million more than Nate, then I'm bouncing. Or I'm not going to play, or I'm going to sit on the field and just collect my check. And we're in a very self-gratifying.
It's getting out of hand, Sonia. It's getting out of hand. It's ridiculous. These players want to one-up each other, and I get it. They want to secure themselves financially, and I'm all for that. You ball out, you deserve to get paid. Yeah, they could move off Purdy. That's true. But the thing is that we are overpaying for the value of the player now. And
absolutely,
and that's the problem, is that a lot of these organizations, San Francisco, Cincinnati, Dallas, some of those teams are overpaying for the player's value. Is Dak Prescott $60 million worth? Hell no, he's not.
He ain't been out there since he got the money.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. So, we're overpaying for the value of the player. That's one thing I could say about Detroit. And Lions fans might not like it, but it's this reality, is that we don't overpay our players. We build through the draft, we develop our players, and we reward them. And you were saying earlier, the Lions have been kind of quiet. Yeah, they've been kind of quiet. You know why? Because they re-signed their own players.
Yep.
They trust their own players. And they still got $50 million to play with if they want to. They're probably going to use it on extensions. So, but that's what I'm saying is that's the way to build a winning team is you build through the draft, you develop your young players, and then you pay them.
Mm-hmm. That's the only way. And I mean, without you're just passing out money. I tell people it's like the U.S. Mint is in the backyard because all they're doing, oh, you get $1,
Let
you
it
get
roll, let it
you
roll.
get a meal,
yeah.
you get it. I'm like, I'm in the wrong profession. I need to see if I can suit up and just, I know I'm gonna get injured, but at least I got a guaranteed billions of dollars somewhere sitting waiting on me. Robert says it's not really the player as much as it is the agents and the fact that they know
it's both. They pay the agents to ask them how much money the agents just negotiate the contract. The players tell them what they want. Let's not get that twisted.
The most honorable mention really goes to Kirk Cousins' agent, who has literally milked the Falcons. Now the Falcons have basically said, you are not our starting quarterback. We're going with Michael Penix Jr. And Kirk last week went to Arthur Blank and was like, you know what? Please trade me. I'm not here to be a backup. I am still a number one starter. And so Arthur Blank is like,
paid him already. You paid him. We paid you, dude. Shut up.
They could have gotten him out of there. They could have gotten him out of there before March 11th and saved $90 million. But they kept him there past that deadline. And now they're like, nope, you're going to sit here and still get this check. And because nobody's going to pay for him. Right.
And that's the problem when you give guaranteed money to a quarterback. You've already paid him up the advance. You've already gave him the money. So they don't have to do crap. They don't have to do nothing. They can sit there and sit on their hands and be like, dude, you're not costing us a cent. We've already paid you your money. We've taken the pill and you're sitting here and you're going to enjoy whatever's going on. That's it. That's why you can't always get guaranteed money because then you have leverage.
Yep. You're going to be here in case something goes down with Penix Jr., which he's been injured. All 4 quadrants of his body have been injured in college. So, we don't wish ill on nobody, but it's still likely, once you get an injury and then you're in a very violent contact game like football, it's just a setup for when is the next event going to happen.
Yeah. And I was talking to B about this earlier. Like, you have to have a good backup quarterback because we look at the market right now. You almost want to hold on to a Kirk Cousins because if Penix does go down, Kirk Cousins can still win you games. I mean, there would be a market for a guy like Kirk Cousins. Hell, the Vikings would take him back. I guarantee you. The thing is, like, you want to have those in the back of your pocket just in case. Like, so I don't blame the Falcons. They've already paid him his money. Like, hey, dude, you're gonna be the backup. So if something happens to Penix, you're go back into the starting lineup. But until then, it's Penix's team, and
I would do that job with a smile. I would do that job with a smile and just collect my check. I mean,
who cares, man?
You're just going out there modeling a uniform. You don't got no dust on it. But if you're
not getting hit. Yeah, exactly. I'm with you, Sonia.
If they win a Super Bowl, you get a ring. Gardner Minshew just signed with the Kansas City Chiefs as their backup quarterback, which we know Mahomes is never going out. I mean, I've seen Patrick Mahomes go out there and throw a pass in a wheelchair when they thought his ankle was broken. Now, but he wasn't in a wheelchair, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, but it just shows you the selfishness of some of these players. Like, Kirk Cousins got his bag again, stole more money again, and now he's like, trade me. No, dude, we're not trading you. You're gonna sit on the bench and you're gonna enjoy the game.
But this is on the Falcons. They knew he was not a playoff contending quarterback to begin with. The Falcons were in a desperate position, and they did not make wise decisions.
They sure as hell paid him like a freaking playoff quarterback.
They did not make a wise decision. You would have thought that they were getting Tom Brady in his heyday the way they were paying him.
Mm-hmm. And he came off a huge injury too.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I'm like, you did not do your due diligence. That won't happen again. And so, be it then, rumor has that Henderson makes it out. Yeah, we heard about that. Robert is saying it's not really the player as much as the agent. Yeah, we talked about that. So that's what's going on in NFL. We're stay tuned for, is the trade deadline over now, or can we still see more trades? People are still
you mean the free agency? That's still going. I think it's got a couple more weeks because the draft is the 26th and 27th. So
that's coming up pretty soon. All right, let's switch gears over to the NBA. We got a power 30 right now. Believe it or not, the Cavaliers are at the top of the Eastern Conference, and the Celtics are 6 games behind them. That's a shock. I'm a big Celtics fan, just not the team, just Jason Tatum. Let me be clear, just Jason Tatum.
You like Tatum. Like Tatum. I got you.
Because he's from Duke. He's, I'm a Duke fan, and so March Madness, everybody.
Yeah. Cooper flag.
Yes, the Knicks are behind them, and the Pacers are number 4, followed by the Milwaukee Bucks at the number 5 position. And let's not get it twisted. The Hawks, Atlanta, my team, and the Hornets. The Hornets are not even in the top 10, but the Hawks are at the number 7 position. The Hawks are always at 7 or 8. Like it never.
Yeah.
The Hornets is 14. Then you got the Western Division. Number 1, the OKC Thunder, causing a little ruckus. The Rockets, of course, and the number 3 is the Nuggets. Lakers making a thing out there with Doncic. He's made a big, big impact out there on the West. The West is literally turning out to be the best with the records. Grizzlies are 5. Warriors making a comeback. And number 6 is Jimmy Buckets, teaming up with Draymond and Stephon. And I'm a Stephon fan as well. And
I love Stephon, man.
I'm going to be honest with you, Nate. I didn't know after they got rid of Jordan Poole with this, and then this whole debacle with Draymond Green and just the way he was treating his players, his teammates. I had no idea, that they could come back from this. I was really hoping that they would get rid of Draymond, but Draymond's putting too much, hard in the paint. So they'll deal with the conduct just to get the wins. But
Draymond was locking down Giannis yesterday in the game that they played. Like, shoot, I love Draymond. I love Draymond.
Clippers 8, Kings 9, and finishing it out with the Mavs 10. I think this is one of those, in another 6 to 8 weeks, we'll be looking at the playoffs coming up real quick, because that'll be here before you know it. And I think the West may pull it this year. What are your thoughts?
I love the Thunder, man. The Thunder, Shea Butter is box office. Yeah, I would put Draymond as defensive player. The way he locked down Giannis. Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, because Giannis is unstoppable. For Draymond to be defensively on him like that, that's definitely
he was locking him down. Yeah, Shea Butter on the Thunder. And I just love the young team, man. I always root for the young teams. And it's going to be hard to beat the Celtics because if the Celtics are shooting the threes like they usually do, they're pretty much unstoppable. But if there's any team that I think that can contend with the Celtics, it would be the Thunder. And I think
you don't think the Cavs and the Thunder?
The Cavs will give the Celtics fits, but the reality is if the Celtics are making their threes, I mean, shoot, man, not a lot of teams are going to stop him.
Like NBA Jams. You remember the video? He's on fire.
But I will say this about the Thunder, and this is why I say the Thunder have a legit chance, is because the Thunder, if you look at their defensive rankings, they are number 1 in almost every major category.
They are.
And that is something to pay attention to because one of their things is 3-point defense. Well, what does the Celtics do very well? They shoot the 3. So if you get a team that shoots a 3 at a high clip and you get a defensive team that defends a 3, something's got to give. That would be a hell of a series.
They are blowing out. Yeah, they are blowing out the 76ers right now in the third quarter with 2:22, 95-68. This game was never a game.
Sixers are terrible, man.
Honest with
They're
you,
so bad.
The without Embiid, that really made them tank down. I mean,
Paul
he
George
was already injured. Yes, Paul George. The first quarter, the score was 42-26. The second quarter, it looked like they tried to come back. It was 30-28, more of a closer scoring. Then the third quarter, it's been 10 points again. And now, we're getting ready to wrap up the third quarter going into the fourth. But you're right.
Good thing the Eagles won the Super Bowl because Philadelphia would be revolting right now. If the Eagles had lost the Super Bowl and the Sixers suck.
That's how Dallas is crazy. They're always talking about, with the Dallas Stars, the hockey team there.
Mavericks,
and then, of course, the Mavs.
Yeah, it's
trying to. Last year, they actually both were contenders when the Stars were going and the Mavs. It was kind of like, oh, okay, Dallas, y'all not, going to do nothing with the Cowboys, but you may be able to pull off something in other sports. Who is your favorite NBA team? Is it the Thunder?
Thunder. I like the Thunder a lot. My team is actually the Knicks. I'm a big New York fan. Yeah, so we'll see. Jalen's out right now, so hopefully he gets back healthy. There you go, Pistons.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, Knicks are my the number one team, but I'm going to root for the Thunder too because I love the underdog. I love the young teams, and Shea Gilgeous is so much fun to root for.
Yeah,
Guys, just smooth as the other side of the pillow.
I can never, like Lloyd Banks said, cool as the other side of the pillow. I can never say the Knicks anymore without thinking about Jay-Z when he's like the Nets and Knicks give me high fives when he's talking about this Empire State of Mind when he raps that like Knicks and Nets.
Oh yeah.
So yeah,
Nets are not doing too well. Knicks are.
Yeah, that's why I was like, we're not talking about the Nets. Nowhere. They're number 13. They're barely above the Hornets. 23-46 record. 2-8 loss.
They got some work to do. They got to find their Jalen Brunson.
Woo. Okay, so these are big things coming up. I mean, definitely power rankings. The Lakers have definitely evolved into their old Laker of late times. I mean, what do you think about that?
I mean, LeBron James just continues to defy the age factor. I mean, I'm not a huge LeBron James fan, but I got to give him his flowers. The guy at 40 something years old is balling out better than most of the players in the NBA right now. Luka Doncic, that trade still, I can't believe it. I mean, you literally got Luka Doncic for a bag of chips. The thing with me with the Lakers is, are they going to be able to play consistent defense? They're playing good defense now. But when you get to the playoffs, you have to play consistent defense to advance. And I just don't know with him, a 40-year-old, if your 40-year-old's your best defender, and then your second best defender is probably a guy who can't even shoot. I mean, I don't know. Like it's going to be a lot to ask for because Luka don't play defense. Reeves is not a very big defender. You got a lot of offense, but not a lot of defense. So if they can play consistent defense, there's a chance that they could get to the finals, but they're gonna have to go through OKC. Yeah, and OKC locks down everybody. So
that's the thing. Once you start seeing like, okay, we're good here, but we got to be the best. You got to beat the best. That's when it becomes super competitive. Bistrella probably said it right. There are a lot of hype, because of the names, and it's the Lakers. Sure. Let's be clear. The Lakers are kind of the equivalent of the Cowboys of the NFL and the NBA. I mean, that's how I look at a lot of old.
Well, the Lakers win. Cowboys haven't won nothing.
Well, how many rings the Lakers got? 5, 6.
They got the second most behind the Celtics.
Yeah, so the Celtics have, I think, 6. So they got about.
But the last championship they won was in 2020. The Cowboys haven't won since I've been in diapers.
Yeah, they haven't won since '95. So some of our audience wasn't even here.
It's been a minute. I was
here. I was in college, and that's how long. Literally, none of my adult life have they won. So, and they have not won. I said this earlier on the show with Mike Tipton was on because he's a Cowboys fan, and I was like, yeah, they have not won since the inception of the Panthers. So as soon as the Panthers were born in '95, you guys have not freaking been back. So get
Lions have more playoff wins than the Cowboys do.
Who does?
The Lions.
Ooh, playoff wins.
And we've been terrible. We've been terrible for a good minute. B can attest to that. And we have more playoff wins than the Cowboys do. That's just saying something right there.
Yeah, but they're going to talk about their rings, though. That's what
I know.
They're going to talk about their rings. What are your thoughts on Peyton Pritchard? Off the bench, 947 points, most in the league.
Mr. 8 Mile. I call him 8
Literally, Mr. 8,000 Mile. I'm just like so impressed by that because if you're playing like that off the bench, just imagine, like to me, when I hear about players like that, I think about, the greats like LeBron and Steph. Like, okay, at some point, life goes on and these players are going to retire at some point. It's going to happen, and everybody was like, why not relish in the greatness of LeBron while you have him? Okay, I relish in the greatness of him while I have him, but I'm looking at this gentleman, Peyton Pritchard, and I'm like, okay, greatness does not have to end because we live in a society that is culturally aware that they can always be better. And that's what has been instilled in them by their coaches, by their peers, by their parents, and all of us didn't have that. All of us kind of, well, at least in my generation, we grew up like, hey, you could be as good as this person. But very few of us were told you could be better than that person. This generation is always told you could be better than the highest person out there.
Yeah, I mean, to answer your question, okay, yeah.
17.
So it would be a tiebreaker if they played each other. To go back to Peyton Pritchard, like I think there was a game where Peyton Pritchard had 40 points and Derek White had 40 points. And they're probably your fourth or fifth best player on the roster. That just shows you how deep and good the Celtics are. I mean, if your fourth and fifth player is scoring 40 points off the bench, that's impressive.
Yeah. I didn't think, okay, Strilla made a correction. So it looks like the Celtics have already gotten one.
That's right. Yeah, they do. Yeah, they did. That's right.
That most recent one they got. Shout out to the Lucky Charms and happy belated St. Patty's Day. Speaking of Celtics. The look of the Irish. I mean, I don't know, but I forgot Derek White is like, I always include him in like the top 5. And just the maturation of that team overall is just impressive. So
when we talk about building, Sonia, I mean, they built that team. Those are all players they drafted. Pritchard was drafted. White was a free agent. Tatum was drafted. Brown was drafted. You brought Porzingis in from free agency. So you had a mixture of free agents and you had players that are homegrown. So they're doing it the right way.
And when they've invested the time and they've cultivated them for that specific franchise. Like they've handpicked them, like you said, and like it's almost like planting your own rose and waiting for it to grow up. And when it grows, that's the way
it should be. In today's world, you should draft and develop. That is the success of all the good teams. You look at the Eagles, you look at the Celtics, the Thunder, all those teams drafted and developed.
Yeah, that's speaking of drafting and developing without no one goes to the NBA from home. You have to have started in college, and it is now March Madness time. It is my favorite time of year.
Yeah.
Brackets or bust. The last time I did a bracket, it got busted like the second round because Duke was eliminated right away. And Duke has been my team since before you were born. I'll say that. And I love them, but people have predicted they may go to the Final Four, but they probably will be upset. What are your thoughts? Right now, we got the game Xavier versus Texas in an 11-point matchup. It's just the first quarter, 7 minutes, 15 seconds, 32-21. Those are the minor games. Even though Texas is a big name, they're not the big names we're looking for.
Yeah,
we're not looking for those yet. We're looking for Michigan. And what's going on? The Huskies are not even being talked about. Connecticut.
Yeah, I mean, they took a lot of players in the NBA draft. So, I mean, they're not as good as they were with that team. They lost a lot of players to NBA. Stephon Castle, Klingon, those are two of the big dudes that they had on their team last year. So they could still make some noise. Honestly, Sonia, like this year, I think it could be anybody. I really do. I don't think like there's one team that I can say, you know what, that team's going to dominate. Like they're going to run through everybody like this. There's no UConn this year.
Yeah.
I think your best teams are the Auburns, the Floridas, the Dukes, Houston, Clemson, Michigan could make some noise.
Of course.
Like this is probably one of the best years where you could argue there's about 5 or 7, 8 teams that could literally win this championship. I don't think there's a favorite. I mean, a lot of people want to say Duke because Cooper Flagg is the best player in college, but they're also very young. I mean, Cooper's only 18 years old. So, I heard this earlier and it made a lot of sense that young teams don't win in the tournament, because you play against veteran players. It's a very tense situation where Duke hasn't been in a lot of close games this year. They usually win going away. It's going to be interesting. They have the talent to win it all, but even for John Shire, this is his first big situation. MSU, another team.
Definitely.
So I mean, like, it's all going to come down to coaching, guard play, interior play. Who's going to ball out? the great thing about the tournament is like you have to play your best game.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot take a break. Like you have to play your best game, because if you don't play your best game, you're toast.
And you got to play all the way through every game until the series is over with. The shocker to me is to see High Point, because I personally know how small that school is, to see that High Point is in there. The number 13 position out of the NCAA in the first round. They made it. Now, a couple of years ago, or was it last year, University of North Carolina at Greensboro eliminated them. And geographically, those two schools are about 20 to 30 minutes apart. They're both in Guilford County, North Carolina. My sister's there. Shout out to you if you're watching, Anissa. And so I'm just impressed to know that these smaller schools are getting a debut. But these is just the first round. We're just getting started. We got a lot of rounds to play. It doesn't start getting really mad until another.
It starts tomorrow, baby. It starts tomorrow.
Yes, it starts getting crazy. Who would you have to pick for your Final Four if you had to give a thought just today? I know you said anybody can win it, but just off the top of your mind,
I would probably say I would have Duke.
Your Final Four.
Okay, I would have Duke for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I like Florida. Florida is really good, really good. Probably Auburn. Auburn's there too, and I'm gonna say Tennessee.
That's funny. I was just looking at them. I was about to say Tennessee is gonna be sneaky good.
Yeah, like honestly, the SEC is so good this year. Like with Tennessee, A&M,
the merger,
Auburn, Texas, like Missouri, like they're loaded. They have the most teams in the tournament. It's like 14.
That's what I was going to say. They are.
Yeah. We very well could see an SEC championship in the last game of the season.
Or NCAA, because it could go down to, so my Final Four would be Duke, Clemson, Tennessee, and Gonzaga. And
Gonzaga, that's a dark horse. Okay.
Yeah, Gonzaga came out of nowhere. I remember I didn't even know who they were when I was like in high school. Like the first time they eliminated Duke, I was like, "This is who?" I remember well, we didn't have the internet back then, but I remember like going in this book I had this book of like the United States maps. And so I found out where they were, and I literally remember tracing where they were on the map in this like encyclopedia, whatever it was I had, like a map book. It was called Atlas, but it was the book version. And I was like, "Where?"
I remember the Atlas. I remember the Atlas. That's an old school name.
Yes, it is. Well, everybody knows I turned 50 last month, so I'm got to tell my age.
I remember the Atlas. You're not that old.
Thank you, Nate. See, this is why you're my friend. This is why you're my favorite on the show. So. So it's gonna be really big. Who do you think is gonna take it all? Or let's walk it through. Who's gonna be your next two? Your final two?
Okay, so out of the four, I really haven't looked at the bracket as much. So help me out here. Who's on Florida? Which would be on which side? Yeah,
so Florida is going to be. Let's see. You picked Tennessee too. That's the NCAA first round. They're playing Wofford. Tomorrow.
No, well, I mean, if they go to the Final Four, who would it be? Florida versus Tennessee and Auburn versus Duke?
It's going to be Auburn versus Alabama State tomorrow. Oh, you said if they go all the way through?
Yeah, they go all the way. Like if that's our Final Four, like
hang on. Yeah, it would be Auburn versus.
Looks like Auburn versus probably Florida. Okay, Auburn versus Florida. Ooh, that would be a tough one. I'm gonna say Florida. Well, Florida would be on the bottom. I'm looking at the bracket right now. So Auburn goes all the way.
Yeah, I'm scrolling down now.
Auburn versus Florida. I would say Florida for the to get in the championship, and then on the other side, it would be Duke versus who did I say? Tennessee. Okay, so Duke versus Tennessee. That would be interesting. I'll say Duke. So I'll say Duke in Florida. And sorry, Sonia. Gators.
Yeah, it's okay. Everybody's going against Duke, and that's why I'm more determined to go for them. I got Duke versus
Florida's got a lot of size. They got a 7'9" guy. They don't even play, Sonia.
Oh, yeah, that is true. I'm
Yeah,
just
they
thinking,
got a lot of size. A lot of size.
I'm gonna go with the heart on this one though. I'm saying Duke versus Clemson, North Carolina versus South Carolina. The both of the states meet up, and I got Duke to win it all. Guys, we are running out of time. We are literally Nate, this was super awesome. Thanks for your picks too, Brian and Bistrilla. And we wish you guys the best. This will re-air at 2 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And tomorrow it's great to see you as always, Nate. Please come on again. Everybody, good night.
This is a Huddle Sports Network broadcast. You can find us on Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, Facebook, and of course YouTube. Get all your NFL news here first.